Hello and welcome to our first Black Belt Academy video resource with me, Sensei Maisie.
And me, Grandmaster Vince. Now, the purpose of us creating these video resources is to help you guys, our students, to get more from your training, whether that's in terms of your physical attributes, the way you move, the way you do blocks, punches, kicks, etc., or the way your mind works, the way your brain helps you during the day.
So let's ask that important question. What is the Warrior Program?
So the Warrior Program has been created by myself and Sensei Maisie to help juniors to get a real good grasp of life skills. Each grading cycle, there's a task that the juniors can complete. Now we've got 3 booklets. This one is the Junior Warrior Program, but we also have a Little Dragons Warrior and a Junior Black Belt Warrior Program. These tasks are designed to be challenging, but not daunting. We want them to think and have to really put together some thoughts and a little bit of investigation perhaps to try and come up with some really good responses to the questions.
So the types of topics that we've got inside the book are, like Grandmaster Vince says, things to encourage you to think. So there's topics like being confident, topics that may help you to pay attention more. It's a whole variety of different life skills. There's nothing academic. There's no correct answers necessarily. All we want you to do is to think about things, and probably think about things a little bit differently to how you think about them now.
Yeah, the idea is not to try and tell you what to think, but to try and encourage you to think. And with our encouragement, with these little videos to help you, and with input from your parents as well, then hopefully you can start to decide what sort of character you want to develop as you grow up.
And another good thing about the Warrior Program, because we understand that everybody has homework, it's optional, so you don't have to do it. But we encourage you to do it because we think that you'll definitely benefit from it. Well, in fact, we know you'll definitely benefit from it.
One of the best replies I can give to any parent who says, why should my child do this? Or why would it be a good idea for my child to do this? I usually just say to them, why don't you speak to the parent of a child that's already doing it? Because that's probably our best selling point. You know, any child that's doing it, their parent is usually fully on board with it.
Definitely. I don't think I've spoke to a parent who said that they thought it was a waste of time. So we definitely encourage you to do it.
And to be fair, there isn't a large amount of work to do. Usually it's a few sentences that can be completed over 3 months, a grading cycle. So it's not a large amount of work, but hopefully it's enough to get children to think all of the time. You know, we give them some ideas about how they could consider things. And if they can spend 3 months at least considering those things, it gives them a chance to create a habit.
Definitely.
So why do we think the Warrior Program is important? Sensei Maisie, let's have your thoughts on that.
Well, I think the Warrior Program is really important for children of all ages, particularly the children who are getting towards the age of about 13 or 14. And at this point, they're probably thinking about taking a black belt grade, probably their junior black belt. So a lot of the time, children don't realise that what they're doing now in terms of their behaviour is shaping them, perhaps subconsciously, into the adult that they're going to become when they grow up. So by encouraging them to think, and perhaps think about things a little bit differently, we're helping to shape them maybe into better adults. And for us, I know that martial arts, or being a good martial artist, and particularly being a black belt, a good black belt, isn't just about the physical things like throwing a kick, throwing a technical punch, being able to block something as it's coming towards you. A lot of it is about being confident. It's about being able to hold a conversation, and it's about the way that you carry yourself when you're not here in the dojo, when you're outside in the world, out there, and the way that you interact with others, and what goes on through your head, particularly when you're by yourself as well.
The conversation that most of us have, or the conversation that all of us have most frequently, is the one with ourselves. And if we can help children to think positively and think creatively and think helpfully when they're thinking, then that's a great thing to do. I've been teaching children since 1980. It's a long time. And I've picked up lots of information from other parents, from children who've done things successfully, from children who have done things badly. And it's enabled me to help to create something that I think if I pass it on to people and say, you know what, you are looking at it like this, you could also look at it like this. And it gives a second way of looking at things, or another way of looking at things. And often that will get through and people will say, oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that. So it's good, it's important to give an alternative view on things.
And ultimately, it's asking children that question. Okay, you think like that, but why do you think like that? And if thinking that way causes you upset or distress, why don't you think about it perhaps in a different way? And encouraging them to feel happier and more confident in those kinds of things.
Absolutely. It's really important that we don't tell people they're wrong. We just say, okay, that's fine. I see how you're thinking. Do you think this could be a possibility? Do you think you could think in this way?
What are the aims of the Warrior Programme?
Our aim with the Warrior Programme is to make children especially, as resourceful as possible. So that if they get themselves in a situation which inevitably will happen in life where they feel, oh, I'm not sure how to deal with this, they've got several different ways of thinking that they could try to see if it helps them to get through it. If you've only got one tool, if it's a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. If you've got a whole variety of tools, then you can look at it and say, well, this one may work better in this situation.
And sometimes it's about getting kids to think about the things that they're doing now and whether those things that they're doing now are the things that they want to do. So, for example, we know from marking some of the Warrior programs that the kids sometimes come back with things like, I want to be better at reading, so I'm going to try and do this. And hopefully, doing the Warrior program has encouraged them to look at the things that are going on in their life now, whilst they're young, and to help them to come up with ways to do things better. For example, the reading thing.
For me, I think the most important aim, the thing that I would be most pleased about, is if I could help every child understand that they can become the adult they want to become. You know, and it's not like, oh, I'd like to be like him or her, but I can't do that. It's impossible. You know, help them to understand that they are in the creation stage of life and they can create themselves the way they want to be, pretty much. It may take effort, it may take work, and they may not be prepared to put it in, but as long as they understand that the option is there, that's great.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes that just having that tool of understanding that you can think differently, you don't have to think a certain way, and that certain way that you think maybe because somebody has told you something in the past or somebody has said to you that you're this and you think like that. So having that tool where somebody says to you, okay, but you can think differently, that on its own can be a really powerful thing to have.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's almost like you're saying to them, look, here's permission to think differently.
Definitely.
You don't have to, but it's okay to think differently. And if you want to think differently, go ahead and think that way.
Yeah.
So if I can just spend a moment explaining about the Little Dragons Warrior program. Our little dragons can be anything from 3 years old to 6 years old. So we understand that most 3-year-olds aren't going to be able to write sentences, aren't going to be able to read sentences. So we understand that parents are going to be involved with this, and this is what we hope for. In fact, we would love for parents to be involved with all the programs. You know, the Little Dragons, the Junior and the Junior Black Belt programs. Because we just feel it has high value. Now, you're obviously going to be doing the writing, you're going to be doing the reading for them, and by all means discuss their answers with them. Make sure that they're happy with what they're saying.
Yeah, and absolutely. It's definitely okay for you as a parent, if you're the parent of a little dragon, to write your son or daughter's answers down in their book, because again, we understand that most kids of that age can't even write yet. So if you want to do that, it's absolutely fine, as long as you do write their answers down and talk through the stuff with them. Like Grandmaster Vince has said, you know, sit down and have a conversation about the things. I know that the topics in the Little Dragons Warrior Program booklet, they're not difficult at all. They're things like, keeping promises, and why do you think it's a good thing to keep a promise, and what do you think would happen if you broke a promise, those kinds of things. And could you tell me some foods that are perhaps really bad for you? And their answers are nowhere near as in-depth as they need to be, or they won't be as in-depth as they need to be for the Junior Black Belt Warrior Programme and for the Junior Warrior Programme as well. Because as the kids get older, we appreciate, and we want them to think a little bit more. So we've given them a lot more space to write in their books. So I know that this is quite a hefty book. It's a lot thicker than all of the others. So Little Dragons, really basic answers. Even if it's a one-word answer, it's fine. As long as they've thought about that answer themselves, is great.
So if you don't have a booklet yet, you don't have one of these or one of those or a red one if you're a little dragon, ask your instructor and help yourself to get started straight away.
When you get your booklet, pop your name on the front here. There's a little box on the front that says student name. Put your name in there, but please don't just put Tom, because if we teach 7 different Toms, it's really difficult for us to know which Tom you are. So please put your first name and your surname, and if you wanted to help us out even more, you could write perhaps the instructor that you train with the most on there as well, so we can allocate your book back to you, or give your book back to you once you've completed it, and make sure it gets to you in the correct class.
Great, well I hope that's helped. If you still have questions, by all means speak to us. What we want is for everyone to understand this and for everyone to get the best right.
So we hope that you've enjoyed this video. Eventually what we're going to do is we're going to make a video on each of the Warrior Programme tasks to help you out just a little bit more. And we're going to be making a lot more video content on lots and lots of different things to do with the Academy. So make sure you watch out for those videos.
Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.
See you soon.